In case you missed the morning show, President Donald Trump announced he signed an executive order today to slash prescription drug prices by 30 to 80%. The most favored nation policy ties U.S. drug prices to the lowest rate paid by other wealthy nations, reviving a plan from his first term that was court blocked and Biden ordered it canceled in 2021. President Trump claims this will save trillions of dollars for the government and bring fairness to the American people. Though drug companies warn it could stifle innovation, the specifics on affected drugs remains unclear, and Trump is moving quickly to get this in place. We'll find out which drug prices come down, but it sounds like many of them will be coming down soon. Meanwhile, big shocker, Democrat Khanna has expressed willingness to bring legislation to the floor to codify Trump's executive order today, signaling potential bipartisan support to ensure the policy's permanence and protect it from future legal or administrative challenges. Stay tuned. This is a developing story, but I kept thinking all day, how will Democrats fight this? But at least one of them wants to be on Trump's side. He's able to set his hatred of Trump down for the good of the American people. But I have a sneaky feeling that not every Democrat is going to be that mature. This is a monumental executive order, something that Democrats have promised for decades, but Donald Trump was able to deliver. Now, I want to show you a clip from RFK Jr. Let's watch that together.
Mr. Secretary, Trump says some prices will come down almost immediately. What is the timetable for these price cuts?
Well, there's a series of escalating steps, but you know what? That will bring them down to European levels. Right now, America provides 75% of the pharmaceutical revenues in the world. And we only have 4.2% of the world's population.
Sure.
We're paying in our country, the list price for Ozempic is $1,300 per dose. In London, it's $88. And Democratic and Republican politicians have been talking about for years, we got to end these discrepancies. Nobody has had the courage to do it because of the power of the pharmaceutical lobby on Capitol Hill.
Okay.
In answer to your question, how soon will this happen? It depends on how enthusiastically the drug companies cooperate. There are a series of escalating steps that we will take if they don't cooperate. But we've been meeting with the pharmaceutical companies. They admit that this is something that should have ended a long time ago. And I think they're ready to figure out a way to get there. And they have advantages in this executive order, Stuart.
Okay.
Because we got rid of the PBMs, we got rid of the middlemen, and that's something that they've wanted themselves.
All right, so you heard it there from RFK Jr. This is going to happen very quickly. Now, if it doesn't, they're saying we've got steps that we can take to force Big Pharma to comply. So basically, whatever other wealthy nation is paying for a drug, it must immediately come down or they're going to raise prices, but they can't raise them to what Americans are paying or else they'll collapse their business. So there might be like some down here, a little bit up here, but either way, Americans are about to start spending significantly less on pharmaceuticals. And guess what? Those stocks went up because they admitted, yeah, we've been taking advantage of the American people, but that stops now. But I'm going to tell you, this is a pattern, and I'll tell you more about that in just a minute. Now, this is what I found extremely interesting. Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont has been saying for decades that he would lower the cost of prescription drugs. In fact, he ran for president twice on I will lower your prescription drug prices. Today, he remains silent as Donald J. Trump brings forward this historic change, this historic saving, over $4 trillion saved for the American government that then gets translated into savings for insurance companies. This could bring down premiums. But even if you're paying for prescriptions like I do, they're all about to become more affordable because you can no longer rip off the American people. So this is really, really historic. But let me know in the comments, what do you think? Bernie Sanders complaining, moaning, saying how terrible America is and that the big pharma has been taking advantage. Now, big pharma finally gets smacked upside the head and the dude is totally silent. Totally silent. Trump is doing everything that these guys didn't have the balls to do for 20 plus years, and Trump just went ahead and did it. All right, now, FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino announced that the FBI is taking big steps towards transparency. He's talking about the COVID cover-up, the Russiagate hoax, the Epstein files, the Mar-a-Lago raid, and much, much more. He insinuated big things are coming and that he is happy with where they're at right now. He also said, we're clearing information to Congress and then to the public as quickly as possible. They're also going to be digging in on Crossfire Hurricane, the Nashville shooting, and the shooting of Representative Steve Scalise, excuse me. All right, he also confirmed that the FBI is doing everything they can with Pam Bondi in order to get the Jeffrey Epstein stuff out. He said, listen, there is explicit material that nobody wants to see, but somebody has to go through it file by file so that we can build a case. Okay, now, Scott Bessent, one of Trump's greatest picks of the U.S. Treasury, gave an incredible update. He says that the China-U.S. tariff deal is nearly done. The stock market reacted well, but listen to what China was doing under Joe Biden. Again, there's a pattern of America and the American people being taken advantage of. Listen to this.
What has to happen is it has to be fair for the American people. But in January 2020, President Trump produced a template. We had an excellent trade agreement with China, and the Biden administration chose not to enforce it. The Chinese delegation basically told us that once President Biden came into office, they just ignored their obligations. So, we all already have a large framework. The other thing to remember here, Jonathan, is that this is a pause down to 10%. The April 2nd level for China is 34%. So we will be working to see where their final reciprocal number ends up. And the negotiations are a combination of tariffs, non-tariff trade barriers, currency manipulation, and subsidies of labor.
All right. Did you pick up on that? So China had certain laws and obligations under the Trump administration, Trump term 1, and they said they just ignored it. They did whatever they want. They took advantage on purpose of the American people and the United States of America. Why? Because they knew Joe Biden was weak and would do nothing. Scott Bessent said they admitted to us, we did nothing because we knew Biden would do nothing. What a feckless piece of crap. I'm so glad that he is out and that Kamala Harris did not win. You guys, think how bad things would have got with medical tyranny, inflation, transgender, gender dysphoria, all of the stupid, super lefty, woke, Marxist crap that they were stuffing down our throats and onto our children is now going away because of the Trump administration. All right, let me tell you about our sponsor. Tax day has passed, but for millions of Americans, the real trouble just started. If you missed the April 15th deadline and still owe back taxes, the IRS is ramping up enforcement. Every day you wait only makes things worse. With over 5,000 new tax liens filed daily, tools like property seizure, bank levies, wage garnishment, the IRS is applying pressure like we've never seen before. Trump is doing what he can to rein them in, but they are hungry to collect that money. Now, increased administrative scrutiny means collections are moving fast. But what's the good news? You still have time for Tax Network USA to help you. Whether you're self-employed or a business owner, Tax Network USA can help you. I've been working with these guys for many years now. They've got you covered. They've helped people with billions of dollars in transactions. So even though we're past the deadline, it's not over. You can regain control of your tax and financial situation. Your consultation with them is completely free. So act now to stop the penalties, stop the threatening letters, and the surprise levies before it gets worse. I want you to call 800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Gardner. You may have missed the April 15th deadline, but time has not run out. You have options, but let Tax Network USA help you, and let them help you today. All right. A historic breakthrough in the Ukraine-Russia war could be on the horizon as Ukrainian President Zelensky signals he's ready to meet face-to-face with Vladimir Putin to end the war. Well, this comes after Putin proposed direct talks with no preconditions following a visit to Kiev by leaders from France, Germany, and Poland, and the United Kingdom, who called for a 30-day ceasefire. Zelensky called Putin's offer a positive sign, but stressed a need for full, lasting, and reliable ceasefire if they're going to bring this thing to a halt. Putin, meanwhile, said a ceasefire should be part of the talks, not a condition beforehand, and accused Ukraine of breaking past agreements. Now, if held in Istanbul, Turkey, this would be the first time that the leaders have met. Russia's drones continue to attack, and they don't want a ceasefire. They either want the war to end or for America and the European Union to get out of the way. Now, ultimately, President Trump stated, President Putin of Russia does not want a ceasefire agreement with Ukraine, but rather wants to meet on Thursday in Turkey to negotiate a possible end to the bloodbath. Ukraine should agree to this immediately. At least they will be able to determine whether or not a deal is possible. And if it's not, European leaders and the United States will know where everything stands and can proceed accordingly. I'm starting to doubt that Ukraine will make a deal with Putin, who's too busy celebrating the victory of World War II, which could not have been won without the United States of America. Have the meeting now. All right, on Sunday, the new Pope, Pope Leo, had his first blessing at the Vatican. He gave a heartfelt plea for the Russia-Ukraine war to come to an end, as well as the Israel-Gaza situation. He recommended that all hostages be released and that humanitarian aid be brought back to the region. Speaking from St. Peter's Basilica to a crowd of 100,000 people, he said that humans must do everything they can to avoid war and that these wars should be brought to an end. Okay, in political and health news, House Republicans have introduced a bill to drastically cut Medicaid spending by tightening eligibility rules, including work requirement for people under the age of 64, and more frequent check-ins to make sure those that are receiving government benefits actually qualify for American benefits. Right now, there are upwards of 1 million people receiving Medicare and Medicaid that should not be. Those people are a drain on the system and need to be removed in order to keep Medicare and Medicaid functioning for those that actually deserve it. Now, the goal is to save billions of dollars in federal Medicaid costs, but also to help pay for the Trump tax cuts so that people making under $200,000 a year are not being taxed into poverty. Now, a lot of Democrats and even some Republicans are saying, hey, this is a bad move. We don't want to lower Medicare or Medicaid for anybody. But according to the Congressional Budget Office, Medicare and Medicaid, they are on a track to bankruptcy. So a lot of people are not going to like this, but they're going to have to make cuts, or else this program is going to disintegrate and not be there for anybody. So again, get out the fraud, get out the theft, get people back to work that should be working, so they're contributing to the pool versus draining the pool, right? You ever have a friend like that? All they do is take. Well, some people, they've got to be removed, right? And I think that they will. But I'll continue to keep you updated on that. As I mentioned last week, they just removed 7 million fraudulent names from Social Security that were collecting about $12 billion a month. That's $144 billion a year that was going out the door in just Social Security fraud alone. So these programs are a blessing to many, and they need to get out the fraud and the theft immediately. All right, that's my update. You guys, let me know. What do you guys think of Trump's historic executive order to lower the cost of prescription drugs? What do you guys think of Khanna saying, I'll sign on to that? And what do you guys think of Bernie Sanders being completely silent after decades of complaining because it wasn't him that got it done? It was Donald J. Trump that got it done. All right, I love you guys. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, stay amazing, and I'll see you on the next video.